Today, I am explaining the movie, The Platform 2, explaining every scene as it happens. Watch till the end, and please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy this. New cellmates were interviewed about their food preferences and the objects they wanted to bring in. One big bald man named Zamiatin, who was in cell level 24, insisted that he needed pizza every day. He warned the interviewer that he had been brought to the facility for trying to burn down his parents' house while they slept. When the food platform arrived, Zamiatin discovered that someone on level 21 had eaten all the meat from his pizza and half of it as well, leaving him furious. He reached for someone's chicken wings, but his cellmates in level 23 reminded him it was against the rules to take someone else's food without permission, as this would force the owner to eat from lower levels, creating chaos. The French man in cell 23 said that the royalties from levels 19 and 20 would be sent to level 21 to punish the person who ate Zamiatin's pizza. Despite his anger, Zamiatin accepted a croquette from his cellmate Perempuin, who had shared that she missed the ham croquettes her ex used to make. As they waited, communication with level 44 was cut off, leaving them unaware of how food would be distributed. The next day, chaos erupted in level 21 as cellmates began fighting. The cellmates in level 23 told Zamiatin and Perempuin to prepare for trouble. Zamiatin pleaded not to fight, but Perempuin readied herself. Suddenly, the food platform arrived with a dead man on it. The French man jumped down to continue his fight, while another cellmate poured out scattered food. In a tragic turn, fire consumed a cellmate from above, causing her to fall into level 24. Perempuin quickly used her bedsheet to extinguish the flames on her body. Meanwhile, the barbarian and the Frenchman, Robespierre, continued fighting until the barbarian hit his head on the platform and lost consciousness. Unfortunately, the fire had already severely burned another cellmate, leading to her death. Robespierre then declared that he would take the barbarian down to the anointed ones, those who had met the master. The master was a man who had once gone without food for a month and, in his desperation, had cut flesh from his thigh to feed the hungry, who became his appointed followers. Over the months, the anointed spread messages of solidarity across all levels, advocating for fair food distribution. Zamiatin, angry from not eating for 2 days, suggested Robespierre share the body parts of their deceased cellmate with the hungry. Robespierre replied that cannibalism was forbidden, so he threw her body down the pit, where it scattered before reaching the bottom, and some growling creatures grabbed the pieces. The following day, the food platform arrived. Zamiatin and Perempuin ate their portions, but Robespierre disposed of the food from the dead cellmate. When Zamiatin complained that they could have eaten it, Robespierre insisted that no cellmate should benefit from another's death. He placed the barbarian on the platform and stood with him, determined to find the anointed ones. After finishing their own meal, Perempuin began flushing away the food of the deceased cellmates from above. Zamiatin disapproved but helped her while secretly stuffing some pieces into his mouth. The routine continued, and although most followed the rules, some stole bits from the dead's portions. One day, Zamiatin helped Perempuin with a ladder to dry her clothes, and in return, she helped him shave the hair on his back that he couldn't reach. Perempuin often drew on the wall of their cell, and one day she invited Zamiatin to join her. He explained that he was more of a science person, having devoted his life to mathematics until he quit. He had lost faith after realizing that the square root of -1 was an imaginary number. This led him to question everything, including mathematics. Perempuin asked what was wrong with the imaginary, and he replied that it doesn't exist and lacks purpose. The cellmates announced that the month's food had reached level 175 out of 333, bringing everyone joy as they felt the rules were working. Perempuin asked Zamiatin for a dance, but the following month they were moved to level 180. The communication chain was cut at level 169, and when the food platform arrived, it was empty. A delirious man from 2 levels below rambled about love and the law, having spent 25 days without food. Days passed, and the platform kept arriving empty. As Zamiatin's cough worsened, a beheaded head fell from above, signaling punishment from the anointed. One day, Zamiatin set his cloth on fire, dripping with sweat. He ignited a spark over his palm until it turned red, but Perempuin stopped him, helping him to the bed as he began coughing up blood. Perempuin cared for Zamiatin, placing a wet cloth on his forehead. The cellmates above warned them that the anointed were visiting each level to punish rule breakers, searching especially for a fat bald man on level 24 who had eaten a dead cellmate's food. Perempuin lied, claiming they were on level 54, while Zamiatin advised her to stick to their own food when the platform arrived, fearing punishment from the anointed. That night, Zamiatin recalled how the interviewer had said his parents sent him there because he had failed in life, his businesses collapsing, and his family rejecting him. He stood at the edge of their cell, wrapping himself in a blanket. Perempuin asked what was wrong, and he confessed he didn't want her to be punished because of him. He told her to tell his children he loved them and that his end wasn't a lie. Suddenly, he lit the blanket, letting the fire consume him as he fell to the bottom of the pit, where others watched. Perempuin awoke on level 51 with a new cellmate. The cellmates above explained that levels 1 to 71 had either loyalists or newcomers, with no sign of barbarians. Perempuin asked her new cellmate what food she had chosen. Plums, the woman replied, but Perempuin warned her that was all she could eat unless someone exchanged it voluntarily. When the platform came down, the food was messy. They learned that a barbarian had been found on level 54. He had previously been on level 2, eating until he threw up. Levels 53 and 52 planned to pacify him, and though Perempuin offered to help, they reminded her it was only the immediate levels above the barbarian that needed to intervene. She then shared the story of her former cellmate, explaining that people died for not following the law and it was the responsibility of those above to enforce it. Perempuin flicked Zaymitin's lighter repeatedly, just as he often did throughout the night. The next morning, a woman's lifeless form was thrown down the pit, and the others shouted that Dajan Bobby, the Anointed One, was punishing the barbarians, claiming he would save them all. When the platform arrived, Perempuin's new cellmate broke her bed frame, taking 2 rods. She handed 1 rod to Perempuin before stepping onto the platform with her. When they reached level 52, one cellmate stayed behind to maintain the communication chain, while the other descended with them. The barbarian was waiting when they arrived. He quickly attacked one person's leg before they could get off the platform. In the ensuing struggle, he harmed another in the neck and struck a third in the stomach. Perempuin raised her rod to strike him, but he pleaded for mercy, claiming he only wanted enough food to recover from the days of starvation. Then, he climbed onto the platform and went down with it. Perempuin's cellmate was furious that they had been left behind. Later that night, she shared that she had been in the pit for 6 months. She and her cellmate, Kakashi, had followed the rules until they discovered a man who was malnourished and near death. They shared some of a dead cellmate's portion with him, but Dajan Bobby punished them for it by cutting off her left arm. Kakashi fought back, gouging out Dajan's eyes. As punishment, they took away her clothing and sent her down the pit on the platform, where those below took her away. Her cellmate warned Perempuin that nobody could survive in the pit, and the only way out was to escape during the intervals. The cellmate explained that to reset the pit, they needed to find a way to counteract the gas they used to make them sleep, which was a variant of sevoflurane. She had been searching for something to keep them awake, but they had to keep going down to search for it. The next morning, they saw a man tied up and naked on the other side of the platform. The cellmate warned Perempuin that they needed to leave before Dajan Bobby reached them. However, when the platform arrived, Bobby and his men were on it. Bobby declared that they would be punished for joining in the pacification effort that didn't concern them, including the men who allowed them to participate. He ordered that all their hands be amputated, except for Perempuin's cellmate, who had already been punished. She would be tied up naked to the platform, just like her friend. The man who had been sleeping in their cell while they discussed escaping told Bobby to punish them because they planned to flee. Unfortunately, he misphrased his words, and Bobby's men didn't understand him. As the platform descended, Perempuin's cellmate was tied up alongside the others, and they cried out in pain as their hands were amputated at the wrists. Nearby, children dressed in the same uniforms as the cellmates played on a slide. They gathered at the top, their screams echoing through the pit. Perempuin woke up on level 72 with an old man as her new cellmate. She advised him not to interact with the cellmates above or below them and asked what object he had chosen. He showed her a knife for slicing his bread. Perempuin remembered her former cellmate mentioning the need to find the drowning dog so they wouldn't sleep when the gas was released, giving them a chance to escape. When the platform arrived, the old man ate whatever he wanted, and Perempuin urged him to join her. With each level they reached, she encouraged more cellmates to fight against the Anointed Ones for their freedom. Many joined her army, and those who refused were killed. As they progressed, Perempuin spotted a painting she admired and told the others to get off the platform at that level. The cellmates fashioned weapons from blades and knives, singing and enjoying themselves. The next morning, Bobby and his men arrived on the platform and ordered the cellmates to flush the food before it reached Perempuin's army. When the platform came to them empty, Bobby threatened to starve them for days, promising that he and his men would return to kill them when they were weak. The old man suggested they go down and eat Bobby's people in the levels below them. Perempuin remembered telling the interviewer about her 4th exhibition, where she showcased sculptures representing animal brutality. One piece featured a beastly dog with sharp claws facing the viewer. During the exhibition, her boyfriend brought his son to meet her. The boy ran around, stumbled, and tragically fell onto the sharp claws of the dog. Though she had good lawyers and the judge deemed it an accident, the incident haunted her. The insurance company paid, and she became one of the most valued artists of her generation, but she wished she could turn back time. That's why she came to the facility, to buy time to heal. While her army roasted some of Bobby's people, Perempuin refused to eat and lay weak on the floor. Her companions urged her to eat, but she only rose to pick up the painting. When Bobby and his men came down to attack them, her army fought back, and chaos erupted as they clashed with one another. One of her own turned against her, and the old man handed her his knife, urging her to use it on him. Before he died, he asked why the painting mattered. As the others fell, only Perempuin, the old man, and Bobby remained, groaning in pain. She removed the cloth from Bobby's gouged eyes and pushed him down the pit. When she asked if he wanted to escape with her, he replied that he could not escape his own prison. Feeling desperate, Perempuin took a piece from the painting and pressed it against her lips. She foamed at the mouth and fell unconscious. One of the children playing on the swing managed to climb to the top. Suddenly, 2 people entered and took him away. The administrators sprayed gas and began tying the dead people together, including Perempuin. When she woke up, she saw them placing the living, unconscious bodies in beds. She watched as they moved the bundle of dead people to level 333. Taking advantage of their distraction, she freed herself from the bundle and hid under a bed. When she noticed them placing the little boy on a bed, she was torn between escaping and saving him. She decided to help him but accidentally hit her head on the bed frame. Blood dripped from her forehead, but she carried the boy with her. Suddenly, she found herself sitting on the platform with the boy on her lap. When they reached the bottom of the pit, some people gathered around her and told her that her time was up, but the boy would have another chance. They helped her off the platform, and as it went back up to the top, she watched the boy's hopeful face disappear into the distance. Please like, share, and subscribe.